The dry wind sliced across the Wyoming plains like a whetted blade, dragging dust in long, angry streams across the horizon. Dane McGraw stood motionless at the edge of his ranch, boots planted wide on the cracked earth, eyes narrowed beneath the brim of his black hat. The sun hung low and red behind him, silhouetting the weathered shape of the man, broad shoulders, long coat, and a rifle slung casual across his back, as though it were just another limb. A rider approached from the east. Dane didn't move, didn't blink. He already knew who it was. The stagecoach behind the rider bore no markings. That was intentional. Discretion had cost extra. He'd paid double. When the coach stopped in a plume of dust and creaking wheels, the driver didn't speak. He climbed down, unlatched the door, and pulled it open. A pair of boots appeared first, modest, travel-worn. Then came the hem of a pale dress, dirt-streaked and sun-faded. The woman who stepped out was not what Dane had expected. She looked around slowly, squinting at the bleached landscape, her jaw set firm. No tears. No trembling. Her chestnut hair was pulled back tight, and her mouth was a flat line of composure. She had a satchel, a small one. No parasol, no frills, no Bible in hand. "You McGraw?" she asked, not unkindly, but with the wary tone of someone accustomed to bad deals. "I am," he replied, voice low and even. "I was told I'd be met by a Mr. Hargrave. A schoolmaster." "You were told wrong." The silence stretched, taut as a trigger finger. Her gaze didn't drop. If anything, it sharpened. "Was this some kind of trick?" she asked. "No trick. Hargrave's dead. Drowned crossing the Snake River. Your name's Anna Fletcher, I presume?" Her fingers tightened around the satchel strap. "Yes." "Then you're mine." The words dropped like iron. The driver flinched, but Anna didn't. She just blinked once, slow and deliberate, as if weighing the implications of that statement. "I didn't agree to be bought," she said. Dane looked her over, eyes hard but not unkind. "And I didn't ask for your agreement. Paperwork was filed. Transaction cleared. You came west to be a wife. That hasn't changed." She gave a short laugh, bitter, humorless. "Everything's changed." Dane didn't respond. He turned and walked toward the house. "You comin' or not?" Anna watched his back, straight and stiff as fence post, and then followed, kicking up dust with each step. She didn't look back at the stagecoach. The house was big, built by Dane's own hands after the war. Thick beams, high ceilings, stone hearth. Sparse and silent inside, save for the rhythmic ticking of a grandfather clock. She glanced around as he lit a lamp. Plain furniture, no curtains, a rifle leaning in every corner like sentries. No sign of a woman's touch. "You'll sleep in the spare room," he said. "Upstairs, second door." "Separate rooms?" she asked. "For now." "Good." She didn't thank him. He didn't expect her to. Dinner was a quiet affair, cold beef, dry biscuits, and water. He ate with mechanical precision, head bowed over his plate. She ate slowly, chewing as if she were tasting every decision that had led her here. "You always this friendly?" she asked at last. Dane looked up, a sliver of amusement breaking through the granite of his face. "You always this mouthy?" "I had to be," she said. Back east, if a woman wanted to survive, she had to be sharper than the men around her. And a little meaner. "You'll fit in just fine then." After supper, she went upstairs without another word. Dane stayed at the table, staring at his empty plate like it held answers he couldn't find. That night, the wind howled. In her room, Anna lay awake, eyes on the ceiling, one hand under her pillow where she'd hidden the small penknife she always traveled with. Downstairs, Dane sat in his chair by the fire, cleaning a revolver he hadn't needed in months. The room smelled of gun oil and pine smoke. Morning came hard and colorless. Anna emerged from her room dressed plainly, hair tied back, sleeves rolled up. "I want to see the land," she said. "If I'm to be trapped here, I'd like to know the boundaries of my prison." Dane raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. He led her out into the wind, past the barn, past the stables where the ranch hands kept quiet and lowered their eyes. She took everything in, the hills, the creek that carved a shallow line through the earth, the grazing cattle, the wire fences stretching into forever. "Big place for just one man," she said. "I ain't just one man. Got 10 hands on payroll. And you now." "I'm not livestock, Mr. McGraw." He stopped walking and looked at her. "I didn't say you were." "No, but you treat me like I was branded before I stepped off that stage." He studied her then as if seeing her for the first time. Not just the narrow shoulders or tired eyes, but something solid in her stance. She didn't flinch, didn't shrink. "You any good with a gun?" he asked. "No." "Can you ride?" "Only on roads." You're gonna have to do better than that. She shrugged. Then teach me. You like that? Not the words but the grit behind them. The days that followed settled into a tense rhythm. She helped in the kitchen but never asked how he liked things. She taught one of the ranch hands, a shy boy named Jonah, how to read from an old Bible she'd brought. Dane noticed. Didn't say anything but he noticed. One evening she returned from the barn with hay in her hair and sweat on her brow. You're doing stable work now? He asked. I do what needs doing. You're not expected to. I wasn't expected to end up here either, but I did. Something in her tone, defiant, not bitter, stirred a memory in him. A voice from years past, laughter echoing through warm grass, small hands pulling at his coat. He pushed the thought away. Later, in the dead calm before sleep, he opened a drawer in his desk and pulled out a photograph. Faded and creased. A woman with sun-kissed cheeks, a little girl perched on her lap, both smiling wide like they didn't know the world could break. They died in a house fire 3 winters ago. He hadn't been home. Never forgave himself for that. The next day he handed Anna a pistol. You'll need this, he said. She took it, cautious but not frightened. You expect trouble? Trouble don't ask permission. She practiced with it every afternoon. Stiff at first, then steadier, correcting her grip without needing instruction. One night, she came in from the porch after shooting cans off fence posts and asked, "What happened to your family?" He was quiet a long time. Fire took him. I'm sorry. Don't be. Wasn't your fire. But her eyes told him she understood anyway. Not the event, maybe, but the hollow space it left behind. The air between them shifted after that, subtle, a thread of recognition pulling tight. They still argued, still traded barbs like seasoned poker players. But the coldness softened. Slightly. On the 6th night, while fixing a broken window shutter, Dane noticed movement in the distant hills. Just a flicker. A glint of metal under moonlight. He watched a beat longer, muscles tensing. Everything all right? Anna asked from the porch. Yeah, he lied. Just wind in the sage. But his hand drifted to the rifle leaning nearby. Later, in the darkness of his room, he sat with the rifle across his knees, eyes scanning the night through the window's crack. He hadn't seen movement again, but the feeling was there. That old instinct, pressure building in the air before a storm. Anna didn't know it yet, but she'd walked into a land full of old grudges and fresh wounds. She wasn't part of his past, but she might just be part of what came next. And he wasn't sure yet if that would save him. Or get her killed. Dawn crept slow over the plains, thin rays of gold slicing through fog like blades. The ranch lay still, coated in dew, but inside the house, motion stirred. Anna rose from her bed before the rooster crowed. She dressed quickly, tightly braiding her hair, and headed to the kitchen where the iron stove waited, silent and cold. She lit it without a word. She didn't do it for Dane. She did it because the silence pressed on her bones and action kept it at bay. He entered 15 minutes later, boots thudding softly against the floorboards. No greeting. Just a nod. She handed him a tin mug of coffee. Their fingers brushed for the briefest second. His skin calloused, hers raw from work she hadn't expected to inherit. You cook eggs? He asked. I can, she replied. But I won't. Not unless I eat too. Fair enough. He sat down without argument. She cracked 2 eggs into the skillet, and the sizzle filled the void between them. They ate in a quiet rhythm now, functional, no wasted motion. The tension hadn't vanished, but it had settled into something more familiar, something worn in and bearable, like boots that still pinched but no longer blistered. That morning, Dane saddled 2 horses. You're riding today, he said. Anna eyed the brown mare with unease. I'm not ready. You don't get ready out here. You get thrown, you get up, and you learn not to fall the same way twice. Reluctantly she mounted. The mare shifted beneath her like a living wave, but she kept her balance. Dane didn't offer reassurance, only a curt nod. They rode in silence across the pastures, the morning wind tugging at their coats. Coyotes yipped faintly in the distance, and vultures circled something unseen beyond a ridge. They reached the creek by midday. Dane dismounted, knelt to check the water and frowned. Levels down. Is that bad? Could mean a blockage. Could mean someone upstream damming it. Would someone do that on purpose? He looked at her, face tight. People do worse for land. They followed the water uphill. A mile later they found the cause, dead livestock dumped upstream. 4 calves rotting and bloated. Flies buzzed in thick clouds. Anna covered her mouth. That's not an accident. No, it ain't. Dane's jaw clenched. The air around him seemed to stiffen. He dismounted again, stared hard at the bodies. Someone sending a message. Anna didn't speak, but she looked at the horizon with new understanding. This wasn't just wilderness. It was a war zone with invisible borders, and someone had just fired the first shot. Back at the ranch, Dane gathered the hands. We've got trouble. Anyone hears or sees anything, smoke, riders, broken fences, you come to me first. No hero work. The men nodded, tense and quiet. Anna stood apart, but she saw the way they looked at Dane, like he was more than a boss. Like he was a wall between them and something waiting outside the fence line. After the meeting, Jonah, the boy she'd taught to read, approached her. Miss Anna, I finished that chapter you gave me. She smiled, grateful for a softer moment. Tell me about it. He launched into a halting but heartfelt summary of Genesis, eyes shining. For a second she forgot about dead calves and grim stares. Dane watched from the porch, unreadable. That night after supper, Anna sat alone beneath the stars. The sky out here was endless. Back east, it had always felt far away, like something God held at a distance. But here it pressed down, close and watchful. She didn't hear Dane approach until he dropped a blanket beside her. Gets cold fast, he said. She nodded. Thank you. You did good with Jonah. He's got a bright mind. He's lucky you came. She didn't answer right away. Then quietly, I didn't come here for anyone. Not really. I came to escape. He sat beside her, stretching his legs. Escape what? She stared into the dark. A fire. Same as you. He looked at her sharply. I lost my family, she said. Not all at once. First my mother. Then my brother to a factory collapse. Then my father drank himself into a stupor and never came out. That's why you left? No. I left because no one expected me to. I wanted to do something they couldn't predict. Dane nodded slowly. You regret it? She didn't look at him. Sometimes. But not right now. Silence returned, but it was companionable now, wrapped in flickering starlight and the rough-spun wool of shared loss. 3 days later, trouble arrived. Dane had gone to town for supplies, leaving Anna to manage the house. She wasn't worried until the knock came. It wasn't friendly. She opened the door to find 3 men, dusty, armed, and smiling like they'd already decided what the answer would be. Afternoon, ma'am, the tallest said. We're looking for Mr. McGraw. He's not here. The man's eyes slid over her, calculating. Pity. We had a little business with him. She stepped out, shutting the door behind her. If you've got a message, I'll see that he gets it. Another of the men chuckled. I like her. Got iron in her voice. The tall one wasn't amused. He stepped closer. Tell Dane this, his fences are in the way. Either he moves them or we will. With fire if need be. Is that a threat? He grinned. It's a promise. From Mr. Westing himself. They rode off in a cloud of dust. Anna didn't move until they disappeared over the ridge. Then she went inside and pulled Dane's rifle from behind the door. Her hands shook, but not from fear. From fury. By the time Dane returned, she was on the porch cleaning the weapon. He dismounted fast. What happened? She told him. No embellishment, no theatrics. Just the facts. He nodded grimly. Westing's been trying to squeeze out smaller ranchers up north. Looks like he's aiming south now. Are you going to fight him? If I have to. She looked at him hard. And if fighting means we lose everything? He didn't answer. That night, she woke to the sound of boots on the porch. Dane stood outside, rifle slung across his back, staring into the dark. I've seen this before, he murmured when she stepped out beside him. The war? No. The silence before it. That awful quiet when men are deciding whether they'll do evil. She folded her arms, chilled. You think they'll come tonight? No. They're not ready yet. They're waiting for us to act first. Then what do we do? He looked at her. We act second. But with purpose. In the following days, the tension thickened. Dane walked the fences himself. Anna started keeping a revolver tucked into her apron. The ranch hands began riding in pairs, rifles across their saddles. Jonah stopped reading and started asking questions about shooting. But between the cracks in the tension, something else bloomed. One morning, Anna caught Dane watching her as she taught Jonah. Not just observing but studying, as if trying to memorize something he didn't understand yet. That night he found her in the kitchen. I've been thinking about what you said, he began. Which part? About escaping. And doing something no one expected. She waited. I never expected to care again. After the war, after my family. I thought feeling was a weakness. It isn't. I know that now. She looked at him, really looked. He wasn't soft. The hardness was still there. But underneath, something flickered. A beginning. Then, faint on the horizon, a light flared, an orange glow too bright to be natural. Anna moved first. The barn. They raced outside and sure enough, fire bloomed in the eastern pasture like a cruel sunrise. Flames licked up the wooden beams, smoke curling into the sky. Ranch hands ran with buckets, shouting orders. Dane didn't hesitate. He grabbed a water barrel, handed Anna a wet cloth for her face, and plunged into the chaos. They fought the fire together, shoulder to shoulder, soaked in smoke and sweat. When it was finally out, the barn was half gone, but the animals were safe. Anna coughed, tears streaming from smoke and exhaustion. Dane stood beside her, panting, soot-covered. "This was just the start," he said. She looked at the embers glowing in the dark. "Then we don't stop," she said. "We rebuild. And when they come again, we're ready." He didn't smile, but something inside him shifted. Not hope exactly, but something close. "Tomorrow," he said, "we start fortifying the land." She nodded. "And I'll teach Jonah how to shoot." They stood there, side by side, watching the fire die and the dawn edge forward in pale blue threads. And in that quiet moment, between ruin and resolve, neither said what they both knew. War had returned to Dane McGraw's land. But he wasn't alone this time. The morning after the fire, smoke still clung to the ruins like a dying breath. Ash coated the ground in thin gray flakes, and the scent of burned timber soaked the air. Dane stood beside the blackened husk of the barn, arms crossed, jaw tight. His fingers twitched toward the revolver at his hip, not because there was danger nearby, but because there wasn't. That was always when it struck hardest. Anna approached from behind, her boots crunching softly over the scorched earth. She carried a water pail, but her eyes were fixed on Dane. "3 horses dead," she said. "2 more lame. They won't ride again." He nodded once. The loss hurt, he just didn't show it. The fire didn't spread to the south fence. "That's something." "They'll come back," she said. It wasn't a question. "They always do." She set the pail down and leaned against a charred post. "How many of these fights have you had?" "Enough." "And how many did you win?" He looked at her, eyes like cooled gunmetal. "I'm still here." But the words didn't hold their usual weight. He wasn't sure survival was the same as winning anymore. Not now. Not with her watching him. Later that day, as they buried the horses, Jonah stood beside Anna, shovel in hand. He didn't ask questions. He just worked. Sweat streaked his face and dirt caked under his fingernails, but he didn't complain once. After they finished, Anna placed her hand on his shoulder. He looked up, and for a moment the boy she'd been teaching was gone, replaced by something older, wearier. The West had a way of turning children into men before they even learned how to cry properly. Inside the house, Dane met with his ranch hands. The fire had shaken them. Eyes darted. Fingers twitched. Every man smelled war on the wind. "We hold," Dane said. "We don't go after them. Not yet. But I want shifts on every fence. Day and night." "They're poking us," one of the men grumbled. "They want us to swing first." "I know. That's why we won't." "Boss," another man said, "you think Westing's gonna stop with our barn?" "No," Dane replied. "But if he burns this place down, he's gonna have to walk through hell to do it." That night, the tension curled around the house like smoke. Anna couldn't sleep. She walked the perimeter, revolver at her side, gaze sweeping the hills. The stars were sharp, cruel pinpricks in the black. Each one a witness. Each one a warning. She heard footsteps behind her and turned fast, pistol raised. Dane froze mid-step, hands raised slightly. "You're jumpy," he said. "Maybe I've learned to be." He didn't smile. He didn't blame her. They walked in silence along the fence, boots brushing dry grass. Finally, Anna spoke. "Why haven't you left this place? After all the blood it's cost you?" Dane looked out across the dark land. "Because I built it. Because when I close my eyes, I still see her, my daughter, chasing chickens by the barn, squealing like she could outrun the wind. And I hear my wife humming in the kitchen. That's the only way I keep them alive. You don't have to die with them, Dane." His breath hitched just once. Then quietly, "Maybe dying's not the worst thing. Maybe forgetting is." Anna looked at him, heart tugging toward something she didn't understand yet. She didn't reach for his hand. But she didn't walk away either. The next morning brought no attack. Just heat. And tension. Dane's old war instincts prickled. He knew that kind of quiet, the kind that came before thunder. Around midday, one of the riders returned from patrol. His face was pale. Smoke, he said, panting. North Ridge. We got maybe 10 men armed. Setting up camp. Dane didn't waste time. He gathered his men, handed out rifles, and divided them into flanks. Anna watched from the porch, lips pressed tight. When he moved past her, she grabbed his arm. You're going out there? I have to. You could be riding into a trap. I know. That's why I'm taking it slow. I'm coming. He stared at her. No. I can shoot. You might get killed. So might you. He hesitated. Then finally he nodded. You stay back. Cover our exit if things go bad. She followed him without another word. They approached the ridge on horseback, staying low. When they crested the hill, they saw the camp, just as described. 10 men. Maybe more. All wearing the same hard expressions, same patched vests. At the center stood a tall man with a silver-tipped cane and a white hat. That had to be Westing. Dane watched through his spyglass, lips tight. They're setting up supply lines, he murmured. He's planning to stay a while. One of the hands whispered, we could hit him now. Take out their horses. No, Dane said. Too risky. We wait. But the decision was made for them. A gunshot cracked, sharp and sudden. One of Westing's men had spotted them. Down? Dane barked. Bullets whined past. Horses screamed. The ridge exploded in chaos. Anna fired once, clean, deliberate, and dropped a man who was charging with a rifle. Her hands shook, but her aim held. Dane pulled her behind a fallen log. Stick close, he shouted. We're pulling back to the creek. They retreated in short bursts, laying cover fire, ducking behind rocks. A bullet clipped Dane's shoulder, spun him around. Blood soaked his coat. Anna ran to him, dragged him behind a tree and fired again, forcing the pursuers to dive for cover. Can you ride? She asked. Maybe. If I lean left. Together they scrambled to the horses. Dane mounted with a grunt, holding the reins one-handed. Anna rode behind him, firing once more over her shoulder as they fled. By the time they reached the ranch, the sun was dipping low and the sky burned red. Dane slid off the horse, stumbling. Anna caught him, lowering him gently to the ground. The ranch hands gathered, wide-eyed. Get water, she ordered. Get cloth. Now. Inside, she cleaned the wound, pressing cloth against the bleeding shoulder. Dane clenched his teeth but didn't cry out. You saved me, he said hoarsely. You'd have done the same. Not before. She looked at him. What changed? He met her eyes. You. The word hit hard, simple, raw, without armor. She didn't know what to say. Instead, she stitched his wound in silence, her fingers gentle but sure. That night, as Dane rested, Anna stood watch on the porch. The wind had changed. It no longer howled. It whispered like it carried stories, warnings, promises. She thought of her family, of Boston's cold streets, of the fire that had taken so much. She thought of the boy Jonah who now trained with a rifle. She thought of Dane, strong but unraveling, and the way he looked at her, not like property, not like salvation, but like truth. Inside, Dane opened his eyes and whispered, They won't stop, will they? No, she said. But neither will we. The night stretched on, filled with the crackle of firewood and the weight of what had passed. The battle at the ridge was just the beginning. They both knew it. War had returned to the land. But so had something else, something quieter and more dangerous. Hope. The morning broke in hues of crimson and firelight, the kind of sky that promised blood. Dane McGraw stood at the edge of his porch, arms still bound from the bullet wound, eyes fixed on the horizon where Westing's men had camped days before. The pain in his shoulder pulsed with every breath, but he wore it like old armor, silent and weathered. Behind him, the ranch buzzed with quiet purpose. Reinforced fences. Rifles cleaned and loaded. A boy no longer a boy standing watch with steely eyes. Anna moved through the house with controlled urgency. She had not slept. Her hair was still pulled back, a streak of soot running across her cheek. Her body was tired, but her mind sharper than ever. Each step she took was measured. Each glance was calculation. She had once stepped onto this land as property, bought and unnamed. But now she moved through the ranch like a coiled wire, essential, electric and impossible to ignore. She came to Dane's side without a word. He didn't look at her. They'll come soon, she said low. I know. We don't have the numbers. No, we don't. She turned to him. Then we have to use what we've got. Dane's jaw flexed. You have something in mind? I've been walking the eastern ridge, she said. There's a blind slope. Perfect spot for an ambush. He turned to her now, brow furrowed. You suggesting we hit them first? I'm suggesting we don't wait for Westing to burn down what's left of your life. He studied her for a long moment. Not because he doubted her, but because he was seeing in full what she had become. Not just a woman surviving the West, but one shaping it. All right, he said finally. We hit first. Within the hour, preparations began. Jonah ran messages between the riders, wide-eyed but determined. The ranch hands saddled their best mounts, and Anna walked among them, checking supplies, inspecting rifles, giving orders with quiet confidence. Dane watched her from a distance, pride and fear warring inside him. She was the kind of woman the West tried to crush, and failed to. As the sun climbed, Dane pulled Anna aside. This isn't your fight, he said. She raised an eyebrow. It became mine the moment you handed me a gun. If anything happens. Dane, she said firmly. If I die standing. Not hiding. He opened his mouth, then closed it. There was nothing more to say. She had become as much a part of the ranch as the land itself. By mid-afternoon, the riders set out, Dane, Anna, and 5 others. They took the long route, circling east through the hills, where the grass grew tall and the wind kept secrets. The sky was heavy with storm clouds now, rolling in from the mountains. As if the heavens knew what was coming. They reached the blind ridge by late day. From their vantage, Westing's camp was visible, tents lined in rows, men laughing around fires, unaware. But patrols moved like clockwork. Armed. Alert. Not invincible but ready. Dane motioned for silence and began marking the slope with hand signals. Anna crouched beside him, her eyes scanning the terrain. They wouldn't have a second chance. As darkness fell, they crept into position. Dane whispered, "No shooting until I give the signal." Anna nodded. Her heartbeat was thunder in her chest, but her hands didn't shake. Not anymore. Then a distant whistle, one of Westing's men calling out to another. Laughter followed. Casual. Relaxed. Vulnerable. Dane raised his hand. Waited. Then. The sharp cry of a hawk overhead. His hand dropped. Gunfire erupted, slicing the night open like a blade. Bullets cracked through the camp. Horses reared. Men shouted in panic. Dane's riders moved like shadows, hitting hard and fast, retreating behind brush, then striking again. Anna fired from her cover, dropped one man who charged toward the ridge with a shotgun. Another bullet whizzed past her ear. She ducked, reloaded, and rose again, unflinching. Chaos consumed the valley. And then, from the heart of the camp, came a bellowing voice. McGraw. Dane turned. Across the clearing, standing tall and composed amid the chaos, was Elijah Westing. White hat. Silver-tipped cane. And a Colt in his hand. Come down and face me, or I'll burn your woman alive when I'm done here. Anna stiffened. Dane's jaw tightened. Stay here, he said. Like hell, she growled. I need you alive. I need you alive. But he was already moving. Down the slope, through the smoke and fire, straight toward the devil himself. Westing smiled as Dane approached. Thought you'd run. Always figured you for a coward hiding behind grief. Dane didn't answer. He leveled his rifle. You got my message? Westing sneered. Loud and clear. Westing cocked his pistol. This land ain't yours anymore. Never was. You're wrong, Dane said low. It's hers now. He nodded once behind him. Anna emerged from the smoke, rifle raised. Westing's men hesitated, caught off guard. It was all the distraction Dane needed. He fired. The shot struck Westing in the shoulder, spinning him backward. His pistol fired wildly, the bullet grazing Dane's side. Anna fired next, and her shot took the revolver from Westing's hand. He fell, snarling in the dirt. Dane stalked forward, blood dripping down his side. He stood over Westing, rifle aimed. Do it, Westing spat. Kill me. Dane stared down at him. Then lowered the rifle. No. Westing's eyes flared. You don't have the guts. It's not about guts. It's about change. He turned to Anna. She looked at him, breathing hard, smoke curling in her hair. I've had enough of blood, Dane said. But if you come back here, if you send anyone else. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Behind them, the rest of Westing's men dropped their weapons. Some fled. Others simply sat down, hands raised. The fight was over. For now. Dane collapsed to one knee, the wound in his side finally dragging him down. Anna rushed to him, catching him before he fell. I'm all right, he gasped. Just tired. She helped him to his feet. Around them, the land began to quiet. No gunfire. No shouting. Just wind. And breathing. Back at the ranch, dawn rose again, this time without smoke. The riders returned to quiet cheers. Jonah ran to Anna and hugged her tight. She held him close, heart full. Inside, Dane lay in his bed, bandaged and resting. Anna sat beside him. "You should have killed him," she said. "No. That would have made me him." "You really think men like Westing can change?" "No," he said, "but I can." She smiled. "So can I." He reached for her hand, fingers intertwining. Not as owner and property. Not even as man and woman. But as two souls who had survived the fire and come out forged. Outside, the ranch lived on. The fences held. The cattle grazed. The wind no longer carried threat, it carried promise. Dane opened his eyes. "You saved me, Anna?" She shook her head. "We saved each other." And just like that, the West felt less wild. For the first time in years, Dane believed in something more than revenge. He believed in her.